Freedom Fighters coming at you with a weekly wrap up. Well, we're on the verge of World War III, broader war going on in the Middle East now. It's no longer Israel Palestine. I mean, it's Yemen and Lebanon and ultimately Iran, which is, the actual big contender, pretty much a proxy of Russia. But yeah, we got more of that, but and they got money for that, of course, but not for us Americans. The hurricane just went through and wiped out large swaths of rural America, the countryside, but they don't care, for those people. Um, Even though some of the counties, I think they said it was like 90% of the counties were, red, but the Asheville or whatever that got hit is like it's like a purplish but trending blue county. But they'll do it anywhere for a land grab, man. I mean, look what they did in Paradise, California, Maui fires in Hawaii. I mean, those are blue, but at the end of the day, if they need the property and they need you gone or whatever, I think this is more of an electoral thing. But anyway, they passed $8 billion in the debt ceiling bill funding the Israel war. Russia's pushing even further into Ukraine. They gave, that was $8 billion to Ukraine. Billions of dollars everywhere. Just shoveling cash all around the world. But Americans get to suffer. But I mean, Ukraine is going to have to take some kind of peace deal because they're pretty much getting decimated. You won't hear about it, anywhere else. There's few channels who are telling it like it is. But even Trump came in one of his interviews and was like, they're like, how are you going to solve it? He's like, there's going to have to be some kind of peace deal. Forget what he said. Like, you're going to have to make some kind of like demarcation line, basically redraw the map and, give Russia, some conceded territory. But then they're going to say, okay, now this is Ukraine. And then they're going to have to do a NATO deal so they can actually back up, with Article 5, which I don't agree with at all anyway. We shouldn't even go that far. But, otherwise they're going to get decimated in all-out war. But, yeah, and then China, man. China has been eerily quiet. I mean, China is playing it smart. They're playing it smart as hell right now, man. But in a previous World War III update video, I can't remember if it was my World War III prediction or what it was, but I said, China's gonna make a move after the Olympics. That's what I thought they were waiting for. My other time prediction was that they're waiting for the election. They're waiting to see how that's going to unfold. They're waiting to see who gets in there. And if you saw my prediction video, I'm thinking it's going to be Kamala. But, I'm seeing some things here recently that I'm thinking Trump might get in there, man. But either way, you know what I feel about it. Like, it's going down either way. It's going to be a war. Shit's going down. But, yeah, I mean, China, man, they're in it to win it. They're playing it smart, and China's going to win. I mean, I was thinking about this the other day. Yeah, I said it. China is going to win. With that billion-man wall that Xi talks about. They have the numbers. They know this. He knows this. The military knows this. And, they can go toe-to-toe with anybody. And they have no problem throwing hundreds of millions of people into the meat grinder to defeat whoever they need to. I mean, if they went to war with America, we have a population of 300, what is it, 330, 340 million people. And again, how many are fighting age, males, right? We have an aging population. all kinds of stuff. So really, how many people are, combat ready to fight, a war? And I'd say maybe 80 million, 100 million, something like that. China would have no problem. That's a tenth of their population. They'll throw 100 million people into the meat grinder, you know? So they'll have no problem. They'll do it for the homeland, um, you know, and this is kind of like their nationalist idea. That's one thing they have going for them, and they're teaching their kids, how to fight, training them with all this stuff. They're disassembling and cleaning firearms. Your kids are learning to play with dildos. How to be a degenerate. What are your kids learning? Chinese are freaking, loading up guns and loading mags and disassembling Glocks and, getting ready. And your kid is, got his finger up his nose or up somewhere else. But, and then TikTok is banned. Well, no, their TikTok's not actually banned there. They just have a completely different version. It's basically government-run TikTok where the algorithm promotes science projects and math equations and engineering and teaching you how to build things and do stuff. Where our TikTok is filth and degeneracy. But, I mean, China's got it, man. They at least have that going for them. And I know it sounds like I'm over here, fawning over China, sounding like Biden or whatever. Biden was like, oh, it's good to be Xi because, he's a dictator and, the dictatorship is good. Trudeau was saying the same thing during the lockdowns. He put in the War Powers Act, and he was like, oh, I'm looking towards China. Like when you look toward what they can do because they're a dictatorship. And then he put in the lockdowns and all those special powers he put in, and he was like, yeah, man, China can do this and China can do that. And, he's like orgasming over China. Oh, China. Oh, China. We love how you lock down and brainwash your population. Oh, China. We love your CBDC social credit score. Oh, China. Your power and control is unmatched. You're so strong, China. We love how you kill your citizens and harvest their organs. Oh, China. Only if we could disarm these stupid Americans. So they can't resist, we would be just like you, China. I mean, they literally said this stuff. There you go. There's your love song of China, the Ballad of China, we'll call it. But yeah, man, they literally did this. And Biden was like, or was it even Biden? Biden was like, China doesn't have these problems or something like that because we love China. And, Trudeau, again, was saying, like, oh, it's so great because they have a dictatorship. Um, and I think it was the Netherlands lady, too. Well, whatever their prime minister or whatever, the one that took all the guns, was like, oh, we don't, China doesn't have these problems. Well, yeah, because they're slaves. They don't have the ability to do anything because they're disarmed and they're slaves. And just the other night in the J.D. Vance Walz debate, Walz said the same thing. Finland doesn't have these problems. Well, yeah, Finland doesn't have hordes of invaders in their country. They don't have, all the mental illness and stuff like that, the degeneracy in the media. We just talked about the TikTok thing. They don't have the propaganda being shoved in their face 24/7. They have a more cohesive, also a nationalistic kind of country. Yeah, they don't have all those problems. But when you look at like China or any of these disarmed countries, and then they gush over how they don't have, firearm deaths, right? And yeah, but they're slaves. So the alternative is like, yeah, just submit, and you'll forever be a slave, but at least like, you won't have to deal with the mishap of, some crazy person walking around and possibly doing something. Hong Kong had that protest and stuff, and that's pretty much all they could do. You look at all these countries during the lockdowns and stuff, and I'm sure a lot of them wanted to, wish they had their usage or the ability to use firearms. But in China, since they're disarmed, when they tell them to lock down, they lock down. When they say bend over and take the anal swab, they bend over. There is no resisting because, you're on the CBD social credit score. You're going to lose your job, you're going to lose everything. You can't take transportation, you can't get food, you can't go to the grocery store. You can't do anything. So they're like, it's pretty much over. And there was video and stuff of them locking people in their houses, all this stuff. Um, and talk about red lines, man. The anal swab thing that was going there in the very beginning. I mean, that's somebody's mother. That's somebody's daughter. Imagine sitting there and then they're just like, oh, nope, we're taking her back, there to go get an anal swab. There's no saying no to the Chinese government. Like, oh, no, we're not doing that. I was getting into fights with people over wearing a mask. They're like, sir, you have to wear a mask in here. I'm like, fuck off. Yeah, back the fuck up and, go somewhere else with that shit. I'm the wrong one. Go talk to somebody else. But someone else grabbing your mom or someone your friend or family member like, oh, you got chosen for the random anal swab today. Nah, man. And then the videos of and then you get a false positive or whatever, and then they go ransack your apartment, and then they pulled the pets out. They're like, oh no, because you're positive, and they thought the animals were a carrier. There was videos of the apartment buildings where they literally rounded up the pets in giant bags and drug them out into the street and beat them over the heads with shovels, and then threw them in the ovens outside. Again, talk about red lines. That's going full John Wick at that point. Pop, 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 pow, ba, 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 ba. Commies are going down if that shit happens. Like, that's game over right there. I'm sure some of those people wanted to pull out their AR-15s, but they didn't have shit. They had to sit there and, watch little Fluffy, get beat in the head with a shovel and then thrown in the oven. So there is no resisting in these countries. When it comes down to it, it's, they put the lotion on the skin or they get the hose again. But, back on the topic, regarding nationalism, and, this is what pulls them through. Even though there's disagreements, they might have their disputes with each other and, stuff like that. Generally, they're together. They have a thing, to coalesce around, their country, their culture, all this stuff. And I remember a full spectrum survival video where one of these Chinese leaders, he was talking about a speech or something where he said, there's a Chinese culture going on where they're trying to become Western and all this stuff. And there's a whole bunch of Chinese culture. I actually watched this documentary a long time ago where, like, there's part of China like trying to emulate like gangster culture. Like they're trying to act like black and Hispanic, and they're literally driving around in like low riders with like Chuck Taylors and Dickies and stuff like that. You know, riding down Hong Kong in my 6'4". You know, like this is literally what they were doing in this documentary. Um, but you know, now with the K-pop and the hip hop and and what he was saying was it doesn't matter if you dye your hair blonde or you talk like them or you try to become one of these Hollywood Western liberal types. You're never gonna be one of them. And that's what he was like, come together, but join us, get back to your Chinese heritage, and they're pushing, their Chinese heritage, um, and I pretty much have to do a whole nother video on like nationalism altogether. But yeah, man, China's sitting pretty, man. They're sitting back watching all the chaos. They're watching all these countries at war, and they're just sitting there waiting. They're like, you want to, waste your ammunitions and throw people in the meat grinder and dwindle down your resources and all that. He's like, we're just sitting back, just gathering our resources. We haven't even wasted a single bullet yet. Not a single missile. Not a single soldier. We're getting ready for the real one. The real fight. Y'all can sit there and lob missiles and, all this stuff. But, the Russia strategy of this slow grind, it's hard to believe it's been 4 years already, like 5, what are they planning on doing this, 10 years? Again, I think depending how the election goes, it'll be a different story. But, America does this too. I mean, 20 years in Afghanistan, like it's modern day warfare where they think they can, slow grind it out. And like, what did you think you were gonna do? Like, demoralize the Taliban? Like demoralize, Middle Easterners? These people have been war at their you thought you were gonna demoralize the warlords in war? They've been at war their whole lives. Like, this is what they do. So yeah, this over time strategy won't work. When China goes, for Taiwan or whatever they decide to make their move, they're gonna go hard. They're gonna go 24 hours. Overnight they're gonna take Taiwan. Maybe 72 hours, maybe a week, but it ain't gonna be no like multi-year thing. They're gonna go in there, clean house, and any resistance is gonna be met, and they're taking it over. But yeah, man, so we're coming up here. I've been ranting a little bit, but I mean that's the thing, man. China, it's looking good for China. I don't know, it's not looking too good for the rest of us. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it there, man. Till the next one, you know what it is. We are on our own. No one is coming to save us. So get right with God, because only God can save you. Freedom Fighters out.